Happy to be here, and I hope you know why you're here. I'm excited to be here with my wife, Novelyn, and excited to be here with all of you. One of the things that I think about when I think about gatherings like this, I think about conferences we've attended in the past. Jeremy mentioned Dave Ramsey. We actually attended a Dave Ramsey conference, and what was so amazing for me is it wasn't about money. It was really listening to speakers talk about their life experiences, their challenges, how they overcame obstacles, and how we can, live better lives because of the experiences of others. And I came away from that conference so excited, so inspired that we had attended about our future and some of the things that Novel and I could do together. And so I hope you have that same kind of excitement here. Why are we here, though? Why are Novelyn and I here? I think one of the reasons that we're here is because, like the things at the Dave Ramsey conference, there's so many great things that we can do for our lives. And my thought is that if we can be part of something where somebody here invents the next great thing, or somebody here has the influence of a Bill Gates, or somebody here decides that they're going to be the best husband they can be, the best wife they can be, the best parent they can be, the best friend they can be, or the best neighbor they can be, then we've been a part of something that was really worthwhile. And so hopefully we've got a few things to share, and when we thought about what we'd share, that there's something in there, there's a takeaway in there for everybody here. At least one of what we have to share would be something that you can take away. Another reason why we're here is in preparation for this, we got to know some of the people with Money Savvy Alliance and Young Money Savvy like Jeremy that I really admire, that I really respect. One reason is because they really have a heart for people, and they really have a desire and a passion to help people help themselves, whether it's financially or some other way in their lives. Putting a conference together like this, the vision that takes, I really admire. And so we respect what they're doing with that organization. That's another reason why we're here. So why aren't we here? You know why we're here, but let me tell you why we're not here. We're not here because we're rich. We're not here because we're famous. And we're not here because Jeremy owes us something. No, we're just ordinary people who just want to have a conversation. We think of ourselves as ordinary people, and many of you, I'm sure, think of yourselves as ordinary people. But I heard something a while ago that you may have heard, that you may consider yourself an ordinary person, but it doesn't mean you can't lead an extraordinary life. And so that's the theme we want you to leave with, is that no matter how you see yourself, you can lead an extraordinary life. Now, I've brought some slides, and this is the first one here, and this is, I don't know if there's a pointer on here. Let's see, is that the pointer? Yeah, so that handsome, does that look familiar? Okay, yeah, and then this here, incognito, like the Stars Travel with the hat and the sunglasses. There she is. Up here, I just threw a bunch of stuff. So you get the idea. We were on the Freedom. We weren't on the big ship, but we were on the Freedom. This was a cruise out of Galveston. Galveston's near Houston, that city that kind of floats. You've heard about that with the hurricane. Well, this is an old one from a few years back, but we just came back in August from a Carnival cruise from New Orleans where we went to Mexico, and we made it back right before the hurricane that hit Houston. What was it, Irma? Yeah, and I was talking to myself, but I was talking to the captain. You're not going fast enough. We need to get out of here before the hurricane hits. So that's something we like to do. That's something we've done over the years since our honeymoon. We've done things like that. This is us in Utah during the 4th of July. So this is our artwork. If you could see it very closely, you'd know that we're not budding artists, but we had fun doing it. This is one of our pets, Poodle. Bijan, I'll let you guess which one is my dog, which one is her dog. Anybody want to guess? The Bijan is her dog. Okay, yeah. The poodle is mine. And then we like to cook. This is one of the little dishes we cooked recently. It's kind of a rip-off of a Turkish dish we enjoyed. And then down here, one of the things we've started doing is stand-up paddleboarding. We did it first time in Utah, and we've done it different places. We did it in Mexico on our cruise, but we've never done it right here. So this may look familiar. This is Pudding Stone right up here in Benelli Park. And so we decided that's Novelyn, and that's our little one there out stand-up paddleboarding. I'm the one taking the picture, so I'm not in it. But these are just a slice of who we are, that as ordinary as our lives are, we still spend time doing things that we enjoy, making the most out of life, and doing things to make our life as extraordinary as we can in many ways that we can. So some of the things that we've learned, we kind of titled this, Things We've Learned on Our Financial Journey. So let's see if it goes. Does it work? Can you do it? Yeah, he's going to help me out there. And so, marketing. Marketing is good, isn't it? Wouldn't you agree? I think marketing is great. And direct marketing is the type of marketing that's really good as well. And I've got some images up there. I think these are kind of like the big four, some of the marketing companies that people have heard of and very successful. And I've had some experience with them. But I use that slide because one of the things we learned is we made mistakes. People make mistakes. You may make mistakes, but you can learn from your mistakes. Turn your mistakes into assets. So one of my mistakes was getting with a direct marketing company that wasn't a reputable company like that, and that people weren't interested in really creating a good business plan and really moving yourself forward and all the positive things that we talked about. Their main goal, I found out, was to make as much money for themselves and take advantage of people like me. And I learned that lesson the hard way. Novelyn will tell you that in her family, growing up, they called them pyramid schemes, and she has her own personal experience with going the wrong way. But we learned from that experience. Another one is financial markets. We like to think of that anyone can invest in the stock market. I say that the stock market is the good thing about the stock market is simple. The bad thing about the stock market is it's simple. You can invest a small amount, buy low, sell high is one theory. Another is short-term versus long-term. Are you going to buy stock for generations, just invest in it, make money off the dividends, invest in a company? It's like our legalized gambling, right? Like Las Vegas. We are gambling on the idea that this company that we're giving money to needs that money is going to be successful, and then we're going to benefit as well. And one of my ideas is, well, we don't want any risk. Well, does the stock market have no risk? You can't have it both ways. So I thought, okay, we would invest in a couple of companies. And at the time, I'd done some research, and one of the most secure companies in the airline industry was American Airlines. And so I tracked their stock for about 15 years, along with another company that a friend of mine actually worked for. So I thought, well, he knows about the company, he knows it's secure, so I'll invest a little money in that too. Well, if you recall, a few days ago, we honored a historic period on Monday, September 11th. We honored the 9/11 and the people who lost their lives during that. And the Twin Towers was American Airlines that was flown into those buildings. You don't have to guess what happened to our stock that I was guaranteed, right, was a secure stock. I sold the stock at a loss. Now, if I'd have kept the stock, you could probably look at right now and it's gone up. We would have benefited. But at the time, I was thinking, as you may remember, many of the airlines were looking at going out of business. So I had a choice. Am I going to let the stock go all the way to zero or sell it at a loss? So we sold it at a loss. But we've learned from that. That's another mistake that we made, that we've survived that. We make mistakes. But you learn from those mistakes and you move on and you learn to invest widely if you're going to do it. Invest widely. Another one is impulse decisions. And the story I like to use for impulse, we all know about impulse buying, right? You see something, you decide to go ahead and buy it. With us, with me anyways, it was timeshare. As you can see on the earlier slide, we enjoy going on vacation. We were actually at Club Med in Mexico when we were looking at a timeshare. But before that, before we had done that, before we gotten married, I'd gone down to San Diego on a timeshare presentation. And I sat through the presentation for the free gift because I knew I wasn't going to get anything. Why? Because my credit was terrible. I said, there's no way they're going to sell me a timeshare because my credit is terrible. And you know what? I went through the whole presentation, and you know what happened? They sold it to me. So I drove from San Diego back home, and by the time I got home, what happened? I got on the phone, because what did they have? They had the 48-hour buyer's remorse. And I called them and I canceled it because I was so scared. I'm like, I can't afford this. They knew I couldn't afford it, and they sold it to me anyways. Fast forward, we're in Mexico, and we're walking down the street, and a man walks up to us and says, hey, we've got this great presentation on a timeshare. And sure, the difference is we knew by then that this is something we were going to do. We were going to spend a lot of time vacationing. And we knew we were going to spend a certain amount of money on vacationing. And we knew it wasn't going to be with Club Med because we did not like Club Med. Okay, nothing against Club Med, but it wasn't a great trip for us. And so we went to the presentation, but this time it was an impulse. This time we were listening. This time we were seriously considering it. But at the end of the presentation, I don't know if you ever, it's kind of like buying a car. How about this price? How much can you afford? And after going back and forth, when we got up and walked out, they realized, oh, wait a minute, this couple's serious. And they said, wait a minute. We have these that are much cheaper. Because we had told them that the price was too much. And so we ended up buying one that was very affordable. And because it wasn't an impulse buy, I crunched the numbers. Basically, the amount we saved versus not buying on vacations, we saved about $15,000 over the last, how long has it been, 15 years now that we've been vacationing because we invested in a timeshare that was affordable for us. The exact same vacations we took would have cost us $15,000 more than we spent. Can you do the next one? IOU. Know the price. This is the second thing. Know the price that you pay for debt. We all know that if you borrow money, you can pay the minimum. You can probably afford the minimum. But can you? Because how much do you pay at the end when you finally pay off that loan by paying the minimum only? So when we think about it, we think, well, I've got to have it. I've got to have it, but since I can't afford it, I can afford the minimums, I'll borrow the money and I'll pay it back. But is it something that we have to have, or is it something we really want to have but we don't need to have? One of the things that habit can do to you is it can take away your freedom. I lost my freedom to that kind of debt. How, you ask? Well, the freedom to make choices in your life, the freedom to change directions. We've heard from Sesh a great story about how she changed directions. And I even believe, Seth, you kind of changed directions, but you had the freedom to do that. I was working for Lever Brothers. I was making $70,000 a year, and I hated the job. And I was applying to the Central Intelligence Agency. And we went right up to the final stages of employment. And the employment manager told me, well, we start you off at $28,000. And you're going to be living in the most expensive place in the United States, just outside of Washington, D.C. But But after a few years there, when you go overseas, you'll be able to make a lot of money because we give you all these housing allowances and you don't spend them because we're paying for your house. I said, great. I said, great. What was the problem? I could afford to go from $70,000 to $28,000, except I had about $100,000 in debt. So I told CIA, no, thank you. I couldn't do it. That debt had cost me the ability to change, to have the freedom to change my careers. So here's a slide that we have that talks about faith and finances. And I use this slide to talk about know the reason for your decisions. And I have real, I don't know if you can see it, I have fortune. Is that the reason you make your decisions? Is it fame? Is it family? Is it faith? And faith and finances, one of the reasons that we do faith and finances is I kind of like what Seth said about your elevator pitch. We had, Novelyn and I, an opportunity to learn under Lori Beth Jones, who wrote the book, The Path. And in that book, it talks about developing your mission statement, which is kind of like your elevator pitch. And I'm trying to pull my mission statement up so I don't misquote it. My mission statement is to foster, restore, and enhance harmony in families, organizations, and the community. And so one aspect of that for me is when the decision was made, do we participate in faith and finances? I check, does that fit my mission? And it fit part of my mission, my passion for life, to restore harmony in the community, because that's one of the things that faith and finances does. I'm going to let Novelyn share some things with you, but before I do that, the last thing I wanted to talk about is sharing your wealth. And could you just flip to the last one? And when I mean sharing your wealth, I'm just talking about what we like to think of when we share our wealth is just the time we spend with other people, investing in other people's lives, contributing to other people in many different ways besides just money. And this slide just kind of shows some of the things we've been involved in. Off to the far right is Habitat for Humanity. In the middle is a food bank. Just last year, helped plant trees in the city of Covina where we live, helped backyard cleanup. This fall, we're actually involved with A21 in the Walk for Freedom for human trafficking. I've been involved in that at Mount Sac where I teach, where we put on a human trafficking conference every year. And this October 14th, we're going to participate in a Walk for Freedom. And so what I think is when we're investing that way, when we're sharing the wealth of our lives with other people, I think it goes way beyond your years. If you do that and spend that time, the legacy you have in another person's life will go well beyond your generation. And so I really want to encourage you to, wherever you're at, living your extraordinary, ordinary life, that you are able to do that, to share your wealth. Novelyn?
Thank you, Lance, my groom of 20 years.
Can you go back to the
How
last
is
slide?
everyone this afternoon? So remember that action is what changes things. So, and his last comments reminded me of Sesh's question, what is your legacy? What is going to be your legacy? So just a little bit about my part of the journey as well is, one of the things I wanted to talk about today is saving money. So we as Americans, as a nation, we're pretty lousy at saving money. All the studies have been done. We're great at spending money. We're pretty lousy as a nation of saving money. And so you can imagine the debt and the heartache that leads to with money troubles and worries and problems about money being the #1 cause of divorce, for example, in this country. So this is a very serious matter. And of course, one of the problems is because we're not saving enough money. And I was guilty of that as well, great at spending money, but didn't start saving money until I was in my 40s. So one of the reasons why I wanted to come here today is to deliver that message. Please don't wait that long. Please start today. Even if you have a little bit to save anything, please start and don't put it off. And, you know, I'm a real practical, you know, simple person. So, you know, I know for me, the only way it works for us is to have a separate savings account that we don't have access to and have a pre-arranged amount of money going into that account every month out of the paycheck. Because if I don't see it, then I'm less likely to spend it. Once you put it in the checking account where our everyday expense account, it's over. It's going to be spent, right? So that is what we found is really the only thing that works for us. So because, you know, 65% of Americans are losing sleep over their money problems, and we don't want to be one of them, and we don't want you to be one of them. But it does require savings. I'm big on funds. I like to have a fund for everything. So we had a car fund because I'm a Dave Ramsey fan, and we learned from his Financial Peace University class how to buy a car Dave Ramsey style, which is to buy a car in cash, used, and which I'd never done before. So I decided I'm going to try this because we need to stop having these car payments. I had just accepted the American dream or the American lie that, you know, you just buy a new car every 3 years. As soon as you pay it off, I'd go in and trade it in, get a new car, and just continue having car payments. The way I was going, I was just going to have a car payment the rest of my life. And to me, that was normal. That's what everybody did, and that's what everybody does. And so that's what I was going to do. Didn't even think about it till I went to class and learned, you know, hey, you know, the average at that time, I went through the class, I think, FPU, Financial Peace University, in 2012. At that time, Americans, the average car payment was $495 a month. Ouch. And if we invested that amount per month, we could all retire with dignity, which is a big one of my goals, because a lot of my family members were not able to retire with dignity. They retired impoverished after working hard their whole life. And that was important to me. And so, of course, we had a car fund then, right? So for a year, we stashed as much as we could into the car fund, and then went to the car place and was able to write a check, you know, for a used car, and best car I ever bought. You know, it just feels great. You know, because to have to save for a year is a lot better than making a monthly payments for a 3 to 6 year new car loan. So try it. You'll love it. It feels great. And it drives even better. But some of you may be thinking, I don't have any money to save. Well, that's why we have to get our spending under control. You know, that's why you want to beware of these get-rich-quick schemes. Because if it's too good to be true, it sounds that way, it probably is too good to be true. So you want to be careful about that and make sure you plan, prepare, and anticipate. So that's what Lance was talking about, those impulse buys. You know, you really want to know exactly what you want to buy and how much you want to spend before you go in the place. So that's why it went a lot better when we went the second time around for a timeshare, because we were prepared to walk away from the deal. Always be prepared to walk away from the deal. Because if you're not prepared to walk away from the deal, then they have you over a barrel and you're going to get taken advantage of. So the art of negotiation is critical for your budget. So be prepared. That's going to be critical, because debt is a big, big problem. I can remember them actually coming to our college campuses, the credit card companies, to sign us up for credit cards. I heard they were cracking down on that. Are they still doing that? You just graduated from UCLA. Are the credit card companies still on campus? They're still on campus. It's just so wrong. Teenagers, signing up teenagers for credit cards. It's terrible, but that is what they do. So I started young and I started early, and it was not a good thing. So what I found was, you know, I always thought, well, credit score, you know, you have only people who don't pay their bills on time or don't pay their bills have mediocre or low credit scores. Wrong. To my amazement, your credit score goes down if you're too debt heavy, if you have too many debts, even though you're paying them all on time. So I was just fit to be tied when I found that out, but I learned the hard way. So you have to get out of debt, and you have to do that patiently, you know, and wisely. So I learned that the hard way, and really the trick is to live below your means, to actually live on less than you make. I know this is a radical idea. I know it's not very popular here in America, but I'm really hoping it's going to catch on, because that's really is what's going to make the difference and turn around those savings numbers and bring those up and the debt numbers down for America. So that's what's going to be really critical. I didn't learn any of this growing up, which is why I went to Financial Peace University to get some help. And I really recommend it highly. It's offered in churches all around the country. It's a 9-week course that I hope will change your life like it changed me and Lance's financial life forever. And then I hope you'll turn around and give back. And the way we found to give back was to teach Faith and Finances, which is a 12-week course taught in churches and other locations all around the country for, as Jeremy talked about, that's how we met, for low-income and limited income individuals, for them to learn basic financial principles, some of which we shared with you today, from a Christian perspective. And so it's been really, truly a blessing to try to help people who are struggling financially in the community to reach some sort of financial stability, because it really helps the whole entire family, as you know. Because in the end, the only way you can get there is you need to be able to have control over your finances and not have your finances controlled over you. And so we want to come here today to pass it forward and to encourage you to pass it forward, because getting a healthy financial life is not only going to make your life extraordinary and better and positive, but it's also going to affect your children, your children's children, and your future legacy. So we thank you so much for your attention and your time today, and we pray that you will do well and help yourself financially. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what you saw, make sure to subscribe. You could also see the rest of the speeches on the channel. Enjoy.